Hello, and welcome to Plainsight's live Ask Me Anything, the data hiding in your physical operations. My name is Mark Baker. I'm head of product at Plainsight, responsible for designing and delivering a product to the customers that use Plainsight to gain insight into their physical operations. This is our first AMA, so looking forward to getting some questions. Before I get started, though, whilst we wait for questions to come in, let me just kind of run through a couple of things. The first is, what is Vision AI, or how do we use artificial intelligence to interpret video? Why do we do that, and what do we expect to get out of it? And so Vision AI, or as we also call VisOps, is the process of using artificial intelligence and models to analyze pictures and video. And we do that to be able to identify or detect objects or actions or activity within a video. And from that, we can then capture it as data, capture that object or the activity, the process as data. And that becomes extremely useful for businesses that have activity and action as part of their daily process, because then they can start to use that data to analyze the impacts of changes, for example, or performance improvements. And are these things having an effect? We're using different models, and these can be things like SAM3 models or YOLO models or Hugging Face models to detect different types of object, detect different types of activity. And we chain those together in a pipeline, and that allows us to be very, very flexible. So you can look for multiple different things, potentially using multiple different models within a single application. And the flexibility that actually Plainsight provides allows you to use a single interface, single infrastructure, single architecture to be able to address multiple use cases. So whether you're looking for order accuracy in the restaurant world, or if you're looking for defect detection in a precision manufacturing world, you can still use the same application, the same infrastructure, right? But different models, different filters, as we call them, chained together. And so that allows us to be, say, very flexible, be DevOps or VisOps driven, develop these applications very, very quickly for different types of customers, and give them the data and the insight that they seek. And so, right, let's look for it looks like we've got a question here. So this is coming from, it looks like it's coming from a QSR. It's a QSR related question. QSR meaning quick service restaurant. And that's an area actually that Plainsight has experience working in. So helping restaurants, quick service restaurants, address issues, operational issues, by using video within those restaurants, capturing what's going on, turning that into data, and be able to analyze, are they being successful, where are errors happening? And this question is, what is one operational outcome a QSR team can expect to improve first with Vision AI, and how should they measure it? So our experience working with QSRs is that probably the most compelling use case for a Vision AI model is around order accuracy. This is an area where most of the restaurants we've spoken to don't have good, accurate data on what their order accuracy rates are, right? How often are they getting orders correct, or how often are there issues? A lot of restaurants will use different measures, things like complaints or reviews, Google reviews, customers, complaining over the phone or email or whatever it may be, to determine, is that the indication of how often orders are not accurate. And so, and our insight actually is working with especially in QSRs that are doing a lot of online or orders with delivery companies, is that actually it's a good place to start is around audio accuracy and get a baseline of, okay, well, what is your issue rate? The reason that we like to start there is that it's good for customers, one, to get that baseline, what their issue rate is, and then be able to use the data that they get from analyzing where errors are occurring during the process. So where they're going to be able to make those improvements, and then they can measure the outcome of those improvements. And so to give you a very simple example, if you are a QSR that's making burgers, we can use video, right, to be able to analyze how that burger is put together, and we can match that against the order. The order may state that it needs to be a bacon cheeseburger, for example, and so we can see that it needs the ingredients. It needs the beef patty. It's going to need some lettuce. It's going to need some cheese, of course, and it's going to need bacon and some sauce. By using video and using a Plainsight Vision AI model to analyze that, we can determine, is it being built correctly? Does it have all the required ingredients? And we can see if, for example, the bacon is missed out of the bacon cheeseburger, we're able to determine that, right? We can see that. Now, of course, in a real operation, we can flag that to the operator and say, bacon is missing from this order, and we can replicate that. But it gives, if you like, the management of the QSR a very good indication. Okay, this is where things are getting missed. We're missing the bacon, or we're missing the cheese from the bacon cheeseburger. That's going to cause a customer satisfaction issue because they're not getting the product that they ordered. And so this is why we typically start with order accuracy. It's a good place to start because it gives a very measurable outcome. We can see that, you know, if we get a baseline of the issues are being at one level, we can reduce it, and we can then quickly translate that into metrics around customer satisfaction, around the decreasing cost of issuing refunds or credits, or losing lifetime value of a customer, which is really, really important. And so that's typically where we start. Not always necessarily, but that's probably the area that we'd look to improve first. It's the one that when we've done some surveys ourselves, talking with customers at QSRs, and it's definitely a recurrent theme. Customers do not like getting their incorrect order, or items missing, or the wrong source, or whatever. So fixing that is probably the first place that we'd start. That was a good question. Okay, next question we have is, how do you see Vision AI changing the drive-through and in-store restaurant experience over the next 2 years? I mean, this is difficult, right? Because there's very many folks in the AI prediction business at the moment, and I don't know if I want to jump straight into there, but I definitely see changing how restaurants operate. I mean, the net outcome should be that restaurant customers have a better experience. I mean, just from the aspect of dealing with order accuracy, for example, there should be fewer issues with those online orders. Customers should get, more often, they should get the products that they've ordered. But then we also, you know, there's also potential other areas. So drive-through is, again, how that's managed. Of course, QSR restaurants will use, you know, they know if there's a big event, if there's a football game happening down the street and close by, they know at the end of that football game, then maybe they're going to see a spike in demand as people come and get food. But a lot of that is, you know, it's driven by the experience of the restaurant managers and the staff. And so it's not necessarily real time. And so where you would be able to use Vision AI would be using, you know, more often than not existing cameras, but maybe some supplementary cameras to be able to actively track, okay, this is the line for the drive-through and it's starting to grow. So do we need to, whatever, put more fries in the fryer or put more chicken wings in the fryer? Do we need to get more patties on the grill? Such that we can accelerate the throughput, right, for those customers. Again, less wait time. Hopefully it means that more of them will get through and have a positive experience. But beyond that, you can see in the kitchen, for example, where there are choke points, where orders are getting stalled. It may be, you know, one particular place in the line. You can see, for example, where supplies are getting limited, right? You're starting to run out of onions or beef or whatever the thing is. They're running out. And so, yes, you can alert, but it also helps you plan for the following days. You know, on certain days, if you see spikes in this traffic, and you see orders slowing down, or certain days, certain times, it helps planning around that. So I think, I mean, the net effect is that customers are going to get a better experience, but also the operators of the QSRs are going to get much more insight into what happens inside their restaurant or outside their restaurant when people are waiting to get through the drive-through, such that they can plan and make changes and see the effect of those changes very rapidly. Okay. Let's have a look. Next question. So, do QSR operators need to replace existing systems or hire AI specialists before they can get value from Vision AI? So the answer is not necessarily. It depends. If you have cameras, obviously, as a Vision AI company, a Vision AI platform, we will analyze video. So we need cameras to be able to capture that video. And if you have cameras, very often you see cameras in restaurants are there for security purposes, right? So they're only really used or reviewed when there's a particular event, right, or whatever, security event or some incident or something like that. And that, those cameras are designed to accommodate that use case. They may not be of the right resolution to track what we need, especially on order accuracy, for example, where we may need to be able to determine, tell the difference between a slice of cucumber and a slice of lettuce. So it depends on what the cameras that you have already. But then if you look at if you have those cameras of sufficient resolution, then yeah, absolutely we use them. In terms of the question was about hire AI specialists. Well, I'd certainly say that you should definitely get Plainsight involved. We have a lot of experience in developing these types of applications and these implementations. But nobody in your team is going to need to be Vision AI or AI experts. It may be that over time you want us to build up those skills, and certainly we'd love to help you do that. But our experience in working with restaurants is, you are experts in delivering great customer experiences and for people that are dining, and we are the AI people. And so we'll happily work with you to understand your workflow, fit inside the existing workflow, work with you to train the models, right? So we can understand what food it is that you work with, or what are the problems that you want to be able to address. So whether it's order accuracy or managing the drive-through lines, or improving the efficiency within the kitchen, or even front of house. So we absolutely work with you on that and take your expertise as the restaurant experts to help us guide the applications. But in terms of do you need specialists? No, not at all. And we typically see restaurants being able to get value, at least getting that initial set of data that they haven't had before, because they haven't been using video to get this data, typically within 30 days, right? You can start getting some baseline data within 30 days. Okay, let's have a look. So as an enterprise, what kind of data can we expect to capture, and how could we use it? So kind of interesting if you think around outside of the restaurant world, outside the QSR world, those first kind of few questions. Outside of the restaurant world, any enterprise that, as I said at the front, any enterprise that has physical activity or motion as part of its value, right? Because of building something, and people or machines are involved in assembling components or delivering some kind of service. Most enterprises have systems, ERP systems, goodness knows how many spreadsheets that they have that are analyzing the data and the transactions and the numbers associated with that. But there is a gap, right? This is the data that's hiding in plain sight. That of what people are doing, and you'll know that organizations, occasionally run these time and motion studies where they have people with clipboards analyzing individuals and see how long it's going to take them to do things. And that's how then they may recommend sets of changes that can be performed to improve that efficiency. And those studies, they tend to be one-off. People, I'm sure, are very conscious when they see other people with clipboards analyzing what they're doing. I think with cameras, with Vision AI, you're going to see the ability for enterprises to analyze that activity to a much greater degree. And this is in the sense that they'll be able to understand, okay, well, are there parts of the process where AI can supplement, what the people are doing, right? And things such as defect detection along a line. And we've certainly worked with customers where that's a key part, right? Where they want to be able to understand, are there issues with the product as it's going out? say that we kind of talked about that a bit with order accuracy in the QSR world, but in precision manufacturing, be it components for aircraft manufacturing or fabrication of pipes or sheet metal or those kinds of things, defect detection absolutely one of those areas, and we can convert that what is seen into data that again can provide the enterprise with data it hasn't previously seen. But I think any area, right? There's been a lot of work has been done around enterprises to have data-driven decisions, but that has generally focused on these are the numbers that we know, right, from our transactional systems, our ERP systems, whatever, and now they're able to supplement that with, okay, well, this is how we have tracked the processes of the activity. This is how we've been able to convert what we see going through a process into data to understand, okay, well, how can we make that more efficient? How can we make it more cost effective? How can we make it faster, right? Maybe all of those things. And so how you use it, I mean, it depends very much on the data that you're going to be capturing. But I think as with kind of QSRs, really you want a better outcome for the customers. And that may be higher quality product. It may be you're able to make the cost of manufacturing or processing more efficient, or you're able to deliver more, for the same price. Forward looking, how do you see operational data captured from cameras complementing or integrating with more traditional transactional systems? So I touched on this a bit, I think, in the last question, really, is that most enterprises have operational data, or transactional data rather, that they'll know the cost of the components that they're purchasing or the inputs, right? That's cost of the people or the components. And they'll know what their sales price is, and they'll have all the various other aspects of whatever office costs and energy and the things that go into ultimately producing their product. But when we've spoken with, if we keep on the precision manufacturing thread, for example, when we've spoken with customers working in that space, they will know that, for example, some shifts they produce X, and some shifts they produce X plus 10%, and they don't know why there's that discrepancy. Is it the team are more efficient? Is it that at certain times there are just stalls in the line, for example, because they're waiting for whatever components, or they don't have enough people that are validating or verifying quality or whatever, right? And so I think this Vision AI, generally when we're talking with customers, we're not out there to necessarily replace people or existing systems. We're there to complement it. And so with Vision AI, because we're able to turn that operational activity into data, you can validate that against, well, your transactional data. And so you can understand why there may be certain blips in that transactional data or troughs in that transactional data, and understand why those are, right? You can understand why there are differences in perhaps productivity at certain times of day. And so, and indeed, when we've been talking with customers, they want to be able to add to the transactional data they have with the operational data. And so that may be, for example, creating what we've termed like a digital passport associated with a component, so that you can track it all the way through a manufacturing process with video, right? That's time stamped and validated, and such that you can see, okay, well, this is the component as it started, this is a component as it finished, this is a component as it left the factory to be sent on to a customer, such that if there's any issue with that component at a later date, you can track it back through the process to understand. A transactional system would just show that it would be produced, that the customer had taken delivery of it, and then that now there's an issue with it. But with that digital passport, we're able to track it all the way back to the very beginning to try and help identify, well, if there's a problem, where did that problem occur? Okay, and then are computer vision systems only for retrospective analysis of events that have already taken place? Simple answer is no. right? So when we're processing video or images, we're using AI and models with a process called inference to detect what's inside that. And that, could be detecting people or cars or defects in a precision machine component, or, as I say, a burger that's being prepared. The inference, as you, I'm sure, know, inference or AI processing uses quite a bit of power. And so, power, I mean like compute horsepower and ultimately, I guess, uh, electrical power. But the your ability to analyze real-time events is absolutely there. So if you want to be able to look at real time and somebody that's in a precision machine component on a production line and determine has it got an error on it, absolutely you can do that. If you want to be able to do that, say with somebody that's assembling a meal within a restaurant, absolutely you can do that. Obviously, the more you want to be able to do that, if you're doing that real-time processing, the more power it's going to consume. But we're also working with customers that, of course, will use it historically, and so they'll capture video over time, and they'll analyze that video to be able to understand more about the operations or more about the process, and then use that to change the outcomes in the future. And so, absolutely, you can use it for retrospective analysis, and we're working with even police forces that are using it to analyze CCTV footage to help them gather evidence for crimes. But real time, absolutely, we see that in that precision manufacturing or the restaurant, the QSR example. I see it has to be real time because you want to stop the component with a defect going out of the door, and you want to stop the bacon cheeseburger that doesn't have the bacon going out of the door, correct it before it gets to the customer. And so absolutely, so it's not just for retrospective analysis of events. You can absolutely use it for real time. Hey, not seeing any other questions at the moment. So I think there's no further questions. I say thank you so much for joining the first Plainsight AMA. As I say, my name is Mark Baker, Head of Product. You're welcome to, if you have any questions that you want to follow up on, or anything you want to question, any issues with Vision AI, you're welcome to get in touch. I'm mbaker at plainsight.ai, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one of these.